Okay, so hey guys, and welcome back to another predictions video, and in today's video I'm going to be predicting the Joyce versus Zhang rematch. And if you are new around here though and you haven't subscribed, please do so. Like video if you do need like video, and let's get straight into it. So going into this fight, Joyce is 15-1 with 14 KOs and Zhang is 25-1 with 20 KOs. This fight is for the WBO interim world heavyweight title. Their last fight ended with Zhang winning via TKO in round 6 back in April. Joyce, of course, is going to be hungry for revenge. Questions around, are the kind of demons there still, and what different has he done coming into this second fight, and what different does Zhang have to do come into this second fight, and was it just luck for Zhang in the first fight? There's questions, which there's always going to be questions when it's a rematch, and it was a one-sided win, which, to be fair, a lot of people didn't expect, and so there's always going to be questions, like I said. Zhang is 40 and Joyce is 38, so they're both on the older side of things now. I mean, Zhang especially. Joyce, a late starter, and that's always going to play a factor for him, but he's still got the age. He still is getting on a little bit and does have problems, maybe not problems, but there's aspects of age which maybe might be catching up to him at some point. Zhang's lost game via unanimous decision versus Hrgovic back in 2022. The fight before the last fight for him. But yeah, more of what I just said. Of course, last time out, Zhang won TKO round 6. It was a doctor stoppage. It was one which was a very dominant display by Zhang. It was a fight which a lot of people didn't expect that to be the case. He was coming in as, in my opinion, and from what I saw, a lot of people's opinion, quite a big underdog. And of course, he managed to kind of defeat the odds and managed to get the victory, which is always nice to see as a neutral going into fights. I mean, there's not many fights which I really do have a huge preference, as of course there's my collection of favourite fighters, but there's not many fights which I have a huge kind of favour in one direction. And so, like I say, it was nice as a neutral to see an upset and to see Zhang be able to get the win, and it just showed kind of how much it meant to him as well, which was really nice to see. And in general, another huge fight. It's another big one for 2023. It's been a great year for boxing. Of course, we've just missed out on them two big heavyweight fights at the moment, or three, I suppose, if you count Wilder Ruiz. And so, but other than that, I mean, the rest of 2023 has been amazing so far, and there's, in my opinion, got some more big ones lined up, and I think it's going to be up there with one of the best years we've had in possibly the last 10 years, 5 years. But either way, it's been an amazing year, and another one here now, another good fight here now. Joyce, as a fighter, of course, he's powerful. He does put on a lot of pressure. He's tough. He's durable. Got a good chin. He, in my opinion, has to have made changes. And I mean, I spoke to Shane Watson twice in the build up to this fight, I believe now, and he is very confident, and he is adamant that he has seen the necessary changes be made, and that we're going to see a more destructive and more ruthless version of Joyce, and that's one which I'm excited to see if that is the case. He's a come forward fighter. He'll walk you down. He's strong. He imposes himself upon you. He cuts you down. He improves throughout fights often, and he can change momentum if needed. He didn't necessarily do that against Zhang, but I know that he can do that, and he does improve throughout. Everybody going into that first fight was saying that Zhang might find success in the earlier rounds, but then he'd wear out, and then Joyce would get him in the later rounds. But to be fair to Zhang, he was winning all the rounds, and his conditioning looked fine. He looked like he was more than comfortable fighting into the 6th round, and possibly, look more than comfortable to going into later rounds. And so I think there's going to be questions around, like I said, Joyce, what changes has he made? Has he made the right changes? And Zhang, does he need to make any changes? Was his game plan, or has his game plan been perfect enough already? That is absolutely fine. But I mean, of course, as a fighter, Joyce, he's difficult to fight against. I mean, when he does impose his size and does impose his pressure, he's powerful. He's going to cut you down. He's going to hit some big shots. I feel like that is inevitable with his style. But I suppose negatives about him, he's quite flat-footed at times. He does lack movements, head movement especially, which is arguably the reason why he lost that last fight, or maybe not the only reason, but one reason where there was more openings for Zhang to land shots. He's not overly fast either. He does take unnecessary amounts of shots, in my opinion. He's not used to being not the bigger man. Like I said, he likes to impose his size, but he couldn't do that against Zhang because Zhang's the same size as him. He's a big guy himself, and so, like I mentioned, he couldn't impose his size, and that's what maybe caught him out a bit. And he's been able to do that in the past against the likes of Joseph Parker, against even Christian Hammer as well, and maybe not especially against Dubois, but either way, he's does like to be the bigger guy, and normally is the bigger guy because he is a tall heavyweight as well, but it's not always going to be the case, and he has to be able to deal with somebody who is his own size and is his own kind of build to an extent. He's, like I said, a bit of a slow starter himself, and it's going to be interesting if he has made these changes, if something possibly goes wrong and he just ends up resorting back to what he already knew with his fact of maybe less head movement, maybe just trying to stand and trade a bit too much, and is that possibly going to just end up happening if something goes wrong, or if they go into the later rounds and Joyce tires out a little bit? We'll have to wait and see. Zhang, as a fighter though, in my opinion, well, not even just in my opinion, in general, he knows he can win now, and that's always the case. I've said it in other predictions. When you go into fights against somebody who has been looking dominant and been looking very convincing, and the odds are stacked against you, and you then go on to win, then you come into the rematch and you know you can win. You add that extra bit of confidence, and it adds a bit more to you, and I think it possibly could add a bit more to his game here. He's accurate, he's a southpaw, and that was what found success a lot of the time, and there was a lot of question marks around him being a southpaw and what that would do to Joyce, and there was also lots of questions around if Joyce prepared well enough for a southpaw. Can he use the same game plan? Possibly. I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if he does, because like I said, it worked so well the first time. He hurt Joyce as well. Not many people have hurt Joyce, and he managed to do that, and early on as well, and so he's going to find success in the earlier rounds from the looks of things, and if he can keep carrying on that through into the later rounds, and there's not really much that he can't really be doing here. He put it on Joyce. Maybe that was something which he's not too used to. Maybe that's something which he didn't really enjoy, especially from so early on as well. He found success with his left hand. Like I said, he's very accurate and was constantly finding success with that same left hand shot, and I mean, maybe it becomes a bit predictable after a while, but he found success with it throughout the whole of that fight and was just continuously peppering the eye and knew how to close out the show, and that was good to see. He's a fast starter as well, like I mentioned. He also paced himself quite well. I feel like he knew what he had to do in the way of, like I said, keeping his gas tank going, and he paced himself well, and like I mentioned a few times, he managed to get through into the later rounds. Not even the later rounds really, round 6, but still looking and being on top throughout all of it. His negatives, not overly fast either, can be a bit flat-footed himself. He's similar to an extent to Joyce. Maybe it's a contrast in styles which is bad towards Joyce or good towards Zhang, you don't really know. He does lack defensive movement as well. He can tire out, and he has done in the past to get in fights, and then does slow down. I mean, he's not, like I said, not overly fast in general, to be fair. He can be predictable at times. Like I said, he was finding success with that left hand, but maybe he was overusing it a bit, in my opinion. But if it works, I suppose. And is age catching up to him? That's always going to be the question. Last thing to go is seemingly always the power, but how long can you keep on throwing with that one shot and finding success? I don't know. This fight is got a lot of questions to answer. I've asked a lot of questions in this. What is my thoughts? Joyce, I believe, is the favourite. I don't know. Zhang might be the favourite, to be completely honest. It's close. I think that Zhang will win via TKO in round 8. I feel like Joyce might start a bit quicker in this fight. He might come in with a bit of a different game plan, but in the end, I feel like Zhang is going to be able to weather any kind of storm. I think he is strong in himself, and he's got a good chin himself, and he can take big shots as well. And then I feel like he will find success come to the middle rounds, and then by the later rounds, Joyce, I think his heart might go a little bit, or his will might go a little bit, and then Zhang will be able to capitalise on that and possibly even just keep throwing the same shot. I don't know. I don't know if he will be able to actually hurt him, drop him, get him out. Wouldn't surprise me if it's another ref stoppage or corner stoppage, but we'll have to wait and see. It would be a big statement to make if he does stop Joyce, though. And then where would he go on to next? Of course, Fury got Ngannou, but that's a fight which possibly, if Zhang's willing to wait, could be a fight. Usyk, I mean, he's probably going to end up fighting Hrgovic next. If he wants to wait, there's an option there. Dubois, coming off the loss, but it was a valiant loss. That could be a good fight as well. Or Ruiz Jr. It would be probably quite difficult to make the fight because of how much he wants, but you never know. Maybe Saudi Arabia could get onto a big fight there, as I mean, neither of them are, I believe, got promoters at the moment or anything big going on with that. But I feel like there's lots of options. Possibly might have to wait around a little bit, but depends how well I suppose he wins this fight. But yeah, that is it for today's video. Hope you did enjoy. Like if you did, like, subscribe if you're new, and thanks for watching.